You're welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I'm Lami Ali. You can follow us live on nta.ng/live and on other social media platforms of the NTA for updates. Now, the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, set up a month ago, has been inaugurated. As the inauguration in the State House, President Bola Tinubu says this is part of steps to revamp the country's economy and means to improve the lives of Nigerians. State House correspondent Musbah Damwahab will bring us the details on subsequent bulletin. We go to South Africa, where the African Free Trade Zone Agreement has been identified as the pivot to unlocking the fortunes of Africa. Some legal practitioners stated this as the ongoing 2023 African Bar Association Conference in Pretoria, South Africa. Dele Atumbi of our Judiciary Desk now reports.
The Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is a legal instrument encouraging and promoting economic activities, including movement of goods and services among state parties. The intent of the legal instrument is to ensure African countries trade among themselves without let or hindrance. Available statistics have shown that the African Free Trade Area is the world's largest free trade area, connecting 1.3 billion people across 55 countries who are members of the African Union. To show the commitment of the state parties to this legal instrument, 54 out of 55 countries have signed the agreement. As a way of ensuring the realization of the objectives of this agreement, 44 state parties have so far deposited their instrument of ratification, with only 4 ratifying the protocol on the movement of people. Going by the projections in the agreement, the AfCFTA is one of the flagship projects of Agenda 2063, with gross domestic product valued at $3.4 trillion. As a way of promoting prompt resolution of disputes, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement establishes a mechanism for the settlement of disputes.
The judiciary that the business people who will be involved want is a judiciary that has integrity. It's a judiciary that is competent. It's a judiciary that has experience in their fields. Business people don't want people who are going to learn on the job. They want people who are ready because they've got businesses to run.
A whole new opportunity has been provided. How can we grab it and make it work better for all? The first thing is knowledge of its design and what is expected from it being already in force.
Participants at the ongoing 2023 African Bar Associations Conference are of the view that political stability, judicial independence, and harmonized policies in tandem with African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement will go a long way in boosting multilateral trade on the continent. From Pretoria, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Federal government's plan to strengthen micro, small and medium-sized enterprises and the informal sector with 125 billion naira between July 2023 to March 2024 will have greater value if beneficiaries have the requisite capacity for improved performance. Against this backdrop, the National Productivity Center is training consultants to deploy the needed performance tools and techniques to likely benefit businesses. Joseph Otsen has more.
As a tire technician, Isabawa is likely to be one out of the 1 million nano business owners that would benefit from the 50 billion naira the federal government is intending to invest in the sector.
Like this one now, need to change it. So if they help me with that 50,000, I can feel go and buy another one.
Isabawa has high hopes, but the National Productivity Center is more concerned about building capacity of these small business owners to grow beyond the funding through enhanced performance and healthy competitiveness. And here, it holds a refresher training for its consultants.
This refresher training is on productivity and quality improvement tools and techniques. These are tools and techniques which we deploy normally to the private sector. We believe that we need to give technical support as our own palliative to this business community.
It's also very important that we are able to track
people's productivity, are able to measure it appropriately, and able to reward it.
You find a way to even reduce the effect you have on the environment, and then reuse those materials that you think that are waste, so that you can actually improve your productivity.
Overcoming productivity pitfalls such as wastefulness, weakness in delivery time, alignment of target goals, and inadequate utilization of equipment are among take-home performance skills for the participants as small and medium-scale business owners and those in the informal sector, like Issa Bawa, awaits their impact. In Abuja, Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
We now join Deola in Lagos for more on Nationwide. It's over to you, Deola.
With the nation's medical community pointing at unhealthy diet arising from consumption of packaged, processed and fast food in urban centers, which is contributing to increase in cases of cardiovascular diseases, stakeholders in the food control chain have made a move to regulate the intake of ultra-processed fat and oil in the country. Larry Beleyi takes a look at the regulations.
According to the World Health Organization, WHO, non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular diseases, cancer, chronic respiratory diseases, and diabetes are majorly the causes of death globally, especially in low and middle-income countries. One of the reasons attributed to the trend is basically due to unhealthy diet. For example, in Nigeria, unrestrained consumption of fats and oil is common. Gazetting regulations about food, this time fats and oil, packaged food, is the first step to eliminate industrially processed trans fatty acids from food suppliers, with the banning of hydrogenated oil commonly found in ultra-processed foods.
The hydrogenated oils or trans fatty acids industrially produced can lead to, they are not as soluble, okay, and they can deposit within the vessels, the blood vessels. So they start narrowing down the path the blood is going to be traveling. And once that narrowing starts, blood pressure happens.
With this development, enlightenment of the public has to be stepped up to take on the responsibility of examining the content of their packaged processed oils and other food.
At the state level, we have established, it's mandated that they should establish food safety desk in every Ministry of Health, and then they have a national state committee on food safety and quality. Then at the local government, the same thing should be reciprocated.
Health and dietary experts revealed that Nigeria is the first West African and second in sub-Saharan region after South Africa to adopt these regulatory measures. In Lagos, Larry Beleyi, NTA News.
The federal government's move to reduce vulnerability, food shortages, and guarantee uninterrupted food supply year-round is receiving accolades from stakeholders in the agricultural sector. This, they say, will nip in the bud issues of food insecurity. Kendi Adebisi has details.
Food, an essential part of human life, is being threatened by high cost of living. From cultivation to harvest, production and distribution, the entire food chain network has been hampered by the removal of fuel subsidy. Realizing the negative impact of these on the populace, President Bola Tinubu reeled out palliative measures to cushion the effect in a recent broadcast.
We will ensure stable food are available and affordable. To this end, I have ordered release of 200,000 metric tons of grains from strategic reserves to households across the 36 states and FCT.
We are happy that this is coming from our president, who believes in localization, productivity, and uplifting the lives of those in rural Nigeria.
For farmers and end users, the federal government's plan is the right step in the right direction if properly implemented.
People that need these inputs are given to, they have access to these inputs. So when it comes to inflation, it's a general challenge, especially for producers. So we need to start looking at policy at the grassroots level that will really amount into production and give us, level of support.
We have made agricultural business attractive to the youth. You will know that agriculture as a value chain has the greatest demonstrated potential for job creation.
Nigerians believe as much as this will increase food security, it will equally create more job opportunity for Nigerians. Kende Adebisi, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on the screen for updates. Amina is standing by in our Kaduna Network Center to take us through the next set of reports after this break. To stay with us.
The National Emergency Management Agency has come up with a mechanism to mitigate and control disaster in the country through community engagement. Yohannes Hassan Barrow reports that the initiative is aimed at developing capacity of relevant stakeholders for effective and efficient disaster management. The report.
Affected by flood disaster last year that displaced millions of people with large hectares of farmlands washed away. Recent prediction by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency shows imminence of flooding in the country, with Kano among the prone states. Future occurrences of such is the rationale behind this gathering of government officials, religious leaders and traditional rulers. Downscaling of disaster early warning measures to grassroots for effective life-saving through early action during the rainy season is flagged off in Kano for the northern states.
Appropriate plans that can save lives, livelihoods, critical national assets, and natural ecosystem that is the bedrock of sustainable development.
To support the initiative, Kano State Government has come up with Community Vanguard to enlighten communities and send signals on any disaster. Problems encountered during the previous years as well as measures to mitigate the effect of flood were discussed. In Kano, Yohannes Hassan, NTA News.
Umar Namadi says Jigawa State is on the verge of igniting global business activities that would tackle poverty and unemployment, especially among the youths in the state. The governor stated this while inspecting infrastructural facilities at the Megatari Border Free Trade Zone, which he promised to renovate and put into use before the end of the year. Muhammad Musa Askir has details.
Governor Umar Namadi inspects the condition of every structure, identifying rehabilitation of roads, provision of water and electricity supply, as well as other services that will make the environment conducive for international business to thrive. The Migratory International Free Trade Zone will contain one-stop-over shops dealing in all kinds of goods and services. The export processing zone is one of the largest international free trade markets in Nigeria, owned by the Jigawa State government. The governor promises to make the free trade zone functional before the end of this year. This free trade zone, according to its managing director, when fully becomes functional, will address the challenges of unemployment and poverty among the citizens in the state.
You see, this place is a business hub for Jigawa State, and we are definitely going to do everything possible. First thing we will do, we will try as much as possible to reactivate some of the infrastructure. Then we'll start, we'll go to NIFZA. We'll have a discussion with them. We'll have a good collaboration with them. Once we have done that, then this place is open up. We'll invite investors. They'll come with a warehouse to hire. And if they want to build their own, we'll have a place to give them to come and build their own.
Megatriboda prison, if it is fully operational, it will repart back the status of Jigawa, not even Jigawa. Generally, the country will get a lot of things.
The governor was accompanied to the inspection visit by the Commissioner of Commerce, among other top government functionaries. From Duty, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
And that's it from here. It's back to Lami in Abuja. From here, it's back to Lami.
Amina. Now, Senate has transmitted to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu the list of 45 confirmed ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senate, Senator Abdullahi Gumel, while briefing the press on the developments, also commended the Senate for suspending recess to screen and confirm the nominees.
To come on board of the renewed hope of the president. The president is free from today to swear in the ministerial nominees and give them portfolios so that the government can get going.
On the assigning of portfolio, Senator Gumel explained that it is the prerogative of the president, stressing that all the confirmed ministers are persons with proven track record of excellence. Now, Kano State Chief Judge Justice DJ Aboki has given assurance of her commitments towards restoring the glory of the judiciary through enhanced and effective justice delivery. This was shortly after taking oath of office as the 6th indigenous and first female Chief Judge of Kano State. Abdullahi Mustafa brings us the details.
I swear that I will be faithful. Self-administration of oath of office by Kano State's #1 judicial officer, DJ Aboki. The event attracted from within and outside the state senior members of the bench and bar. Also present are heads of law enforcement agencies in the state. They see DJ's emergence as head of the judicial arm of Kano State government as a reason to celebrate, not just for being the first female to occupy the position, but her uprightness and professional accomplishments.
One thing that is certain is an embodiment of judicial competence, embodiment of integrity in the discharge of judicial responsibility.
Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf joined the new Chief Judge's husband, a retired Justice of the Supreme Court, Abdu Aboki, and other speakers in expressing confidence in our ability to take the state judiciary to greater heights.
We will continue to do our utmost best to meet all our obligations to the judiciary.
My goal, and I hope that will be the goal of every one of us, is to ensure that we will enhance the justice delivery to make it more efficient, effective, and accessible to all.
Justice DJ also promised to work towards sustaining cordial working relations among the three arms of government. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
Now, a two-day national workshop on development of all the older persons for quality care assurance through policy guidelines and regulatory framework is underway in Abuja. Rusa Gwele reports that the National Senior Citizen Center is partnering with the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs for capacity enhancement projects.
For older persons cuts across all stratas, which has consistently raised concerns. To address these concerns, the National Senior Citizen Center has been interfacing with the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs to seek support for the implementation of the national policy of aging through capacity building to promote social inclusion. This workshop with stakeholders is another phase towards integrating quality care standards to draft policy guidelines and regulatory framework towards promoting geriatric care skills for older persons in the country in line with international practices.
I'm very pleased to have a consultant of such a high caliber who will also provide you with an overview of other good practices in other countries, what should be taken on board, what you should consider when conceiving, designing, implementing, also reviewing and appraising policies that benefit older Nigerians.
Nigeria, by this development, is building a paid quality social care workforce and ensuring that the care workforce has the knowledge, skills, and competence critical to enable workforce to practice older persons-centered care.
So now what NSCC is doing in partnership with MBT, Federal Ministry of Health, and every other agency in this space is to, for the first time, have national overarching standards. We never had that before. And tell us the methods, the mechanism, the processes, and how we can monitor and evaluate and update.
The 2 days national workshop is expected to integrate quality care standards through practical steps to improve the well-being of all the persons and their caregivers across the country. In Abuja, Ruth Aguela, NTA News.
Now, the reported case of anthrax disease in Lagos State has created apprehension for neighboring states, Oyo. Concerns are therefore high for biosecurity measures to prevent a likely outbreak. We join Rofia Badmos in Ibadan to give us more information on efforts in this regard. Hello, Rofia.
Thank you, Lami Ali. This is Otedola Private Abattoir at New Gbagi area, Ibadan. This abattoir is surrounded by markets whereby people walk freely into the abattoir to get cow skin. With cases of anthrax disease in some parts of Niger and Lagos State, has put Oyo State being given all measures in place to ensure that members of the public and Oyo State residents are safe. I have here with me Dr. Ibikunle Faramade, a veterinary pathologist, who will give us more insight into preventive measures by Oyo State to prevent outbreak of anthrax. Dr. Faramade, what are the measures put in place by Oyo State to ensure that anthrax is prevented in Oyo State?
In line with the guideline given by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture on the containment of anthrax, Oyo State government has activated the Emergency Operations Center in order to make sure that there is active case search to look for anthrax so that it will be nipped at the bud. So for now, a lot of advocacy is ongoing among the butchers, not only the butchers, because there is a value chain when it comes to issue of butchery, particularly from the cattle market where the cattle that are slaughtered are bought. Government has made sure that officers have been mandated to look for cases of animals that are showing clinical signs of anthrax, particularly at Lamarishin International Market at Akinyele, because there are levels of prevention. That is number one, the priority place to prevent influx of anthrax to the butchers here. After the animals have been brought here, the butchers also have been sensitized that they need to create barrier between themselves and the animal by the use of nose masks, hand glove, and boots, so that there will not be contamination. Then white coat, coverall that can make them to have barrier between them and the animal they are processing. So these are measures that the Oyo State government has put in place, and also there is active collaboration between veterinarians and human medics in the spirit of One Health, so that this outbreak will be contained at any time it emanates in Oyo State. We are praying that it will not, but if it comes, the state government is already ready to contain it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Faramade. That's all we have. It's over to you in Lami.
Thank you very much, Rofia. Prevention is sure better than cure. Now, Nigeria has shown great leadership in Africa and has equally played a critical role in the UN climate policy negotiations since it became a party to the process in 1994. Vice President Kashim Shettima said this at a workshop on the outcome of the United Nations Framework Conversation on Climate Change. Adebola Brookslyn has the details.
Climate change is perhaps the biggest challenge facing humanity today. Developing countries like Nigeria, experts say, are gravely impacting despite its negligible contribution to overall global carbon emissions responsible for climate change. This workshop is to analyze the outcome of the 58th session of the subsidiary body of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
The plan for decarbonizing our energy systems highlights the key role that natural gas will play in transitioning our economy across sectors. The data and evidence show that Nigeria can continue to use gas until 2040 without detracting from the goals of the Paris Agreement.
These priorities are shared priorities for climate vulnerable countries around the world with a development and with a sustainable growth focus.
Nigeria has shown itself to be a leader on the African continent in limiting emissions of greenhouse gases.
In 2015, Nigeria joined the global community in adopting the Paris Agreement, in keeping with the target of limiting the increase in global temperature within 1.5 degrees Celsius. Increase in drought, food scarcity occasioned by irregularities in rainfalls and overflooding are some manifestations of the impact of climate change in Nigeria.
So all hands must be on deck, and that's where Nigeria is. Nigeria has a law enabling legal framework, the Climate Change Act 2021. Under the UNFCCC, Nigeria is advancing the adoption and acceptance of natural gas as a transition fuel.
Just energy transition where emerging economies transits sustainably is a common front Africa is taking to the next conference of the parties. Adebola Brookslyn, NTA News.
Now, flooding has become a recurring decimal in many states in Nigeria, resulting in loss of lives and property in most cases. NIMET this year, in its flood predictions, listed flood-prone states that should deploy measures to reduce impact. Adamawa State is one of them. So we now join Bilkisu Abubakar in Yola to give us a situation report on flood efforts, to reduce the impact of flood. Hello, Bilkisu.
Hello, the studio. Right now we are in the Borandi village, which is in the Yola North local government area of Adamawa State. The Bonamji village is one among the community that is being affected by the flood year in, year out. As Nigeria Meteorological Agency predicts that Adamawa is one among the states to experience the flood in 2003. Already, the flood has claimed 5 lives in Adamawa, and number of communities were affected. About 30 communities were affected by the floods. But the irony of the situation is that most of the vulnerable communities who were warned as regards to they should relocate to safer sites, some of them, they do not want to relocate to safer sites because of what they claimed as their ancestral home, while others considered the period of flooding as a time that they make business, especially on fishing, without considering the consequences on their life, their health, and even their property. Boramji community, the people that have mindset of not relocating to safer side, despite several warnings by the government. Beside me is the representative of the ward head of Boramji community, in person of Alfred Boso. Mr. Alfred, can you tell us why is it that you don't want to relocate to safer side, despite the fact that the government has given you warnings on several occasions?
Yeah, the reason why we don't want to leave this place is, first of all, we don't have any place to go. And secondly, because of the benefit that we used to drive from here, so we don't want to leave this place. Actually, we used to farm here, and with the coming of the floods, it used to make our land to be so fertile so that we can farm on the land and get what we will want. That's the reason why we don't want to leave this place.
Earlier on, we had a discussion with the Executive Secretary Adamawa State Emergency Management Agency, Dr. Aminu Suleiman, who confirmed the situation of flooding that claimed 5 lives in Adamawa, and he attributed the situation to building on the waterways. And he said that the government is working round the clock to ensure that the people, especially those that are residing on flood-prone areas, have relocated to safer sites, as government has already identified the safer ground in all the 21 local government areas of Adamawa State, so that they can relocate, especially in case of any eventuality. And we have also visited some of the places that were affected by the flood, where it has made so many damage. So back to our this is the situation in Yola. Back to our studio.
Thank you, Bilkisu, for that update on the flood issues in Yola. Now we go to health matters. Health issues like diabetes, allergies, and certain childhood cancers in children can be avoided if breastfeeding mothers adhere to exclusive breastfeeding of their babies in the first 6 months. Arnie Daniels reports that health experts emphasize this in Oshogbo as they educate residents on the benefits of breast milk.
Nursing mothers converged on the primary health care center in Isale, Agbara, to learn something new about breast milk and breastfeeding.
it's important you consume a lot of fluids. You know, a lot of semi-liquid foods, like you have pap, you know. In fact, pap should be taken as as accompaniment in meals.
Health experts and wife of the Osun State Governor, Titilola Adeleke, insist that breast milk is readily available and always at the right temperature. It also lowers the risk of childhood diseases and mortality.
Not seeing mothers that they are working. They should make sure they breastfeed their children well, and whichever the creche that they will take their children to should be nearby to their offices, so that it will enable them to go in there, breastfeed the child very well, and at the same time go back to work.
In case of any unforeseen circumstances, maybe during delivery the mother died, it is advocated that you look for a wet nurse or a grandmother that can breastfeed, you understand, or the sister, because we do not want the use of breast milk substitutes, because breast milk substitutes have so many havoc it causes for the child.
It is expected that with awareness campaigns like this one, alongside the provision of lactation rooms at the workplace, breastfeeding mothers will perform their official duties optimally. In Osogbo, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
And Ogochukwuka is in Benin for more on Nationwide. It's over to you.
Welcome to Benin. The fears of motorists flying the second Niger Bridge have been allayed by the resident engineer on the project, Ifeanyi Agwowa. Giving an update on the state of the facility, he says plans are underway to safeguard the road. Tessie Kuka reports. It is a federal government facility. The second Niger Bridge was initiated to meet the yearnings of the people of the Southeast and South-South region, and indeed all Nigerians who have undergone untold hardship occasioned by gridlock at the old bridge. The federal government officially commissioned the bridge in May 2023, and road users have continued to express gratitude for the feat. Just recently, hoodlums were reported to have vandalized a section of the bridge.
The ministry has also written to the police hierarchy, the DSS and the army, to include this new bridge in their area of operations. You know, it's a new bridge, so they have to put it as part of their operational surveillance. So with this, I think by the time we have this in place, these activities of vandals will be reduced. We also have in place the street lighting. You know, we are making arrangements to connect it to the national grid, and as a complement to that, we're also making provision to have solar component.
For these residents, they are ready to join hands with other commuters to protect the public facility.
I cannot allow somebody to come and destroy something that is very important to me.
With this current update of the 1.63 kilometers bridge, it is expected that road users plying the route will continue to experience a hitch-free journey to their various destinations. In Asaba, Tessie Koka, NTA News. As World Breastfeeding Week comes to an end, our correspondent is scrutinizing the misconceptions many have associated with exclusive breastfeeding. Ivio Yakire gets an expert to dispel the misconceptions and identify the way forward.
There are stories of women who rather use artificial milk, popularly known as formula, than give their babies breast milk. This is because they believe that breastfeeding changes the beauty of one's breast. A medical expert, Dr. Shalom Onome, is saying women should do away with such anxieties.
Is this notion out there that breastfeeding makes your breast sag? I will say that I beg to disagree with that notion. If at all, I think it even makes the breast even more firmer. I'd rather have a healthy baby with maximum mental performance, reduce hospital admissions, than be conscious of the way my breast is looking.
In the aftermath of frequent sensitization on the need for mothers to breastfeed exclusively, a significant number of women are not only adopting the option, but are also advocating and advising others, including expectant mothers, to join the breastfeeding bandwagon.
Weaning our child against some certain diseases, which is very effective, and I think if I give birth to this baby, I'll breastfeed the baby.
A midwife with years of experience is highlighting the convenience and affordability of breastfeeding as it costs little or nothing.
Very cheap product for mothers. It doesn't need any special preparation, and it establishes bond between mother and baby.
Different women groups and associations have established different protocols to memorialize the day. In Benin, Ivie Oyahiri, NTA News.
And as our contribution from Benin, when we return from this break, Nana Aisha from Sokoto will be coming up with the next set of reports. Good afternoon.
Women said, though death is a natural phenomenon, they were, however, saddened by the death of their neighbors, even though they survived. At the rural areas, bleeding, prolonged labor, and inability to deliver at health facilities are challenges being faced by women of childbearing age. Some heads of households said poor economy discourages many from attending antenatal care. The program is to enlighten women in the state on personal hygiene and care for their newborn babies. It is also aimed at sensitizing women on the importance of antenatal care, implications of prolonged labor, and excessive bleeding during delivery. The program is first of its kind, sponsored by Sokoto State Government and donor agencies, going on in 3 local governments of Yabo, Ilela, and Wamako, aimed at sensitizing 100 women each to reduce mortality rate in remote areas where mostly the vulnerables are. In Sokoto, Dalhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
In Zamfara State, the 2023 Transition Committee, headed by the retired Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Dahiru Abubakar, has submitted its final report to Governor Dauda Lawal. The 8-volume report contains, among other things, an assessment of all the 28 ministries and more than 100 agencies inherited by the present administration in the state. Jamilu Ibrahim has more.
It had been a Herculean task for the Zamfara State 2023 Transition Committee, which within the past 30 months conducted a comprehensive assessment of hitherto 28 ministries and 111 agencies and parastatals of the state government. The chairman of the committee, retired IGP Muhammad Abubakar, accompanied by his members, has eventually submitted the final report to Governor Dauda Lawal at the Council Chamber, Government House, Gusau. The 8-volume report deals with various sectors of Zamfara State and provides some useful insight into the administration of the state, as well as a critical observation on serious challenges facing the new administration. The report also offers some recommendations and their possible implementation strategies.
The new administration must put in place a holistic approach and strategy to explore all sources of revenue in the state, while transparency and accountability should be respected at all levels of governance.
Thank you for all the efforts you put in place towards producing this report, and I'm sure, I have no doubt in my mind, you did everything in the interest of our dear state. Sure. We made promises to people, and inshallah we will deliver on those promises.
The Transition Committee had earlier submitted an interim report a couple of weeks ago. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim.
Well, that's our contribution from Sokoto here, with Nationwide continues with Lami in Abuja. Thank you.
Thank you, Nana Aisha. Now, in view of the growing significance of ICT across diverse sectors, including education, the Tertiary Education Fund, TET Fund, will soon afford over 2 million students and staff of higher education institutions in the country massive access to online academic resources through the deployments of Blackboard Learning Platform. This was at the flag off of the 3-day workshop on the implementation of the enhanced Blackboard Learning Management System and Train the Trainer program by the fund. The workshop attracted directors of information and communication technology from the 253 beneficiary institutions of the fund as part of measures put in place to bridge the digital skills gap in universities, polytechnics and colleges of education in Nigeria.
Quality and mode of delivery of education across the country under our Converged Services program. With these interventions, we will ensure that hybrid modes of teaching and learning are cemented once and for all, so that instructors can deliver materials to students, can administer tests and other assignments, track students' progress, and manage record keeping all online, regardless of physical classroom structures, among many other benefits.
TET Fund also confirmed improving its allocation to ICT developments in its intervention programs to ensure that the country meets up with the present digital reality across the globe. Still on education matters, third term holiday is the longest break that pupils and students of both primary and secondary schools enjoy after a long and rigorous third term academic activities. In this report, Ahmed Fulani examines how students on holiday can be engaged by their parents or guardians during the holiday period.
Mrs. Olutoni Farumbi is a mother of 3 and was with her kids when I saw them on their way to meet their children's grandmother. During holiday periods, she takes her kids to spend time with her mother and travel to other states for sightseeing to prepare them mentally for the incoming academic session.
I don't really bug them with academic activities. They just do a little, then they play, they rest, they travel, they sightsee.
It is different strokes for different folks, as another parent, Abugurin Oluwatosin, believes the appropriate way to engage their children is to enroll them in summer lessons.
Just for a period of 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So within the period of 2 weeks, I think the rest is okay. And the summer class is not for the whole day. It's just like 3 hours in a day. So they have a lot of time to rest and more time to play.
However, to a professor of sociology at the University of Ilorin, Ali Abdullah, parents need not to engage their wards in formal activities during the holiday, but to introduce them to various entrepreneurship skills to meet with the demands of the 21st century.
This is the right time for parents to study their children very well, to know what they like, what they love to do. And for those who love to work with the computers, they need to introduce them to jobs, opportunities of the 21st century, such as software development.
By and large, parents and guardians are advised to keep eyes on their children and be more security conscious so as to protect them always. Ahmed Fulani, NTA News.
The Nigerian military and policy experts are advancing the use of non-lethal force in tackling the nation's emerging security challenges. This was highlighted as the ongoing non-kinetic operations course at the Nigerian Army Resource Center here in Abuja.
For more than a decade, the Nigerian military has been engaged in different internal security operations in the Northeast. These operations led to the liberation of several towns and people held hostage. The defense headquarters noted that introduction of non-kinetic approach facilitated the mass surrender of terrorists and subsequent deflation of the fighting force of the criminal groups.
Our non-kinetic efforts in our operations have ensured peace and stability in various trouble areas across our dear country, especially in countering militancy and terrorism. This has been achieved through various soft and hard power initiatives, including signing of peace pacts.
The approach requires the participation of critical stakeholders for it to succeed.
Bulk of the security challenges were more or less an internal issue, being perpetrated by mostly Nigerians on Nigerians. So how do we mitigate that? I think it is important to look at time-tested conflict resolution mechanisms as against resorting to the extreme use of violence that tend to escalate the security challenges. So that is the essence of it. And I'm so happy that we are running the second course of non-kinetic approach to security challenges in this country.
For the military authorities, the ultimate goal is to win the hearts and minds of the people and further secure the nation. From the Nigerian Army Resource Center in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Now, the community of persons with disabilities expresses displeasure over non-inclusion of persons with disabilities in the list of ministerial nominees recently approved by the Senate. Members are therefore demanding a dialogue with President Bola Tinubu to discuss opportunities for the appointment of persons with disability as ministers in his cabinet. Gufan Shaji Gwangi reports.
We have to understand that Nigeria belongs to everybody.
Nigeria's Senate recently approved ministerial nominees as requested by President Bola Tinubu after a screening process. Sadly, none of the 45 nominees is a person with disability. This meeting of the community of persons with disabilities is concerned that by these actions, more than 35 million Nigerians, representing the number of persons with disabilities, have been neglected in the appointment of ministers.
The current lack of representation in the Federal Executive Council marks a missed opportunity to advance equality and justice for persons with disabilities in Nigeria.
The example is the Palliative Committee on Subsidy Removal, which we are not part of at this time.
Immediate appointment of persons with disabilities into ministerial positions at the national level and commissioner positions at state levels.
They believe that there is a wealth of untapped potential within Nigeria's disability community that must be harnessed. Inclusive governance, they say, should make provision for representation of all citizens, especially those with disabilities, at the highest level of decision-making. In Abuja, Gufan Shaji Ugwanyi, NTA News.
Sports update is next.
In basketball, Nigeria's men's basketball team, the Tigers, have resumed camp in Lagos ahead of the FIBA Africa Pre-Olympic qualifiers scheduled for Lagos, Nigeria from August 12 to 20, 2023. The 14 players who were invited by the Nigerian Basketball Federation have started putting finishing touches to their preparations for the tournament. The participating teams that will slug it out for the ticket to represent the continent at the Olympics are Senegal, Mali, Uganda, Congo DR, Cameroon, Guinea, Tunisia, and host Nigeria. Still on basketball, the Nigerian Basketball Federation has announced the tip-off dates and venues for the 2023 Women's Basketball League. The basketball body on Monday announced Akure and Jos as venues for the championship and August 21st as tip-off dates. The league will be played in two conferences over 2 phases before the national finals in Lagos. 14 teams will be taking part in the competition in the Atlantic and Savannah conferences. In other news, Maternal branch of the Nigerian Society of Engineers have won the opening game of the 2023 NCE Games in Abuja. The Federal Capital Territory-based team defeated Mina branch by 2-0 to emerge victorious on the opening day of the competition that will be played across the 36 states of the Federation as engineers compete for honors in over 10 sporting activities set to climax in Abuja in November.
When you go into sports, it helps you to exercise, it keeps you fit, and that's the whole idea about these games.
Is for us to network, get to know each other, and through this, a lot of younger ones will be gainfully employed.
On the foreign scene, to boxing, Anthony Joshua's former rival Andy Ruiz has offered to step in for Dylan White after the collapse of his rematch with Dylan White over a failed drug test. While Joshua's camp is struggling to get a replacement, a surprise contender Andy Ruiz has emerged for Saturday's bout. The sports update, Gift George, NTA News.
And that's nationwide for today. We thank you for watching. Join us at 6, 7 and 9 for more reports. I am Lami Ali.